And goals in psychology is really a personal positive future projection. Like what you see improving for yourself financially, physically, economically, paying down your debt, whatever it is, your relationships, your children, your health. So goal setting to me, which I write down and review every single day for about 5 minutes every morning, you have to believe that you can move away from negative things in your life and that you can move towards something else that's positive. Then as far as establishing belief systems around yourself or your business or your health, really with beliefs, it's so true. It doesn't matter if it's right or it's wrong, if it's good or it's bad, and if it's true or if it's false. What matters is if it's empowering you and other people. People talk about fear being a bad thing. I've never seen fear as being a bad thing. Fear is actually a great thing if you focus it properly. Like if you're not afraid of getting hit, afraid of getting hit by a car in a busy street, that's a problem. If you're not afraid of going broke, that could be a problem. If you're not afraid of doing hard drugs, that could be a problem. So fear is there as a tool to keep you away from certain things.
And that is coming up next on Bootstrapping Your Dreams show, so stay tuned. So, the big question is this: how are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough, use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams? Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. We have created a tremendous community of bootstrappers, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are ambitious, resourceful, and want to get things done. We brainstorm, support, and help each other out. So come join us. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. Join today and get the Startup Founders Technology Accelerator video series absolutely free. If you enjoy this video, then do let us know by hitting that like button now. Or if you want us to improve our content, then go ahead and hit that thumbs down button and give us your honest feedback in the comment section below. Here at Tata Noodle, we are passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Every week, we bring you insightful and engaging videos, interviews, tips, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your business or rise in your corporate profession. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing and do not forget to hit that bell icon so that you are notified when we publish new content. Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. I'm your host Manuj Aggarwal, and today we'll be talking with Duane Marino. So Duane splits up his month conducting his regular academy workshops, on-site dealership trainings, regional seminars, managing and selling at his family's dealership, growing his real estate investment portfolio, and coaching individuals on how to become more in all areas of their lives. He's constantly updating his skill sets and materials, learning from well over 50,000 salespeople and managers he has now trained, consulting at nearly 350 dealerships in Canada and US, and continues to hone his own sales skills and processes in real retail environment of car sales across North America. Duane teaches how to maintain full control over the sale, yet adapt to the way consumer wants to buy by starting the selling process at whatever step the customer requires. Awesome. Welcome, Duane.
Thanks, Manuj. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So let's start with your take on attitude, because I know you are big on attitude, and you say that attitude can be your rocket fuel or insidious poison. So can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, attitude to me, I've got a book on Amazon called Unstoppable Attitude, the one with the red cover. And attitude to me is really the baseline, and that comes from personal experience. I've got a chapter in my book on this. From 15 to 25, I really was not in a great headspace. I was, maybe typical for a young guy, but a little bit more so, agitated, aggravated, aggressive, closed-minded, and blaming everybody but myself for what was going on. And I hit about 25 years of age, and I just thought to myself, this is just not how I want to live. So I started to study personal development psychology and self-help books and going to workshops. And really rapidly, in about 6 months, I found out enough practical psychology that I started to really see where I was missing the boat and how I was focusing on all the stuff I couldn't control and really had just a bad story for myself. So when I started to really fix my own attitude, then any skills that I was trying to develop would just stack on that so much quicker that I realized that really is the base of the pyramid. And without that attitude, if you try to put, selling skills or anything else or your client base on top of it, customer retention, it's literally like building a house on quicksand. It's not going to go anywhere. So salespeople, attitude is contagious. People buy when they like and respect somebody. It's not always just the product, and you can't give what you don't have. You can't give somebody buying enthusiasm unless you have sales enthusiasm. And have sales enthusiasm, I think you have to have enthusiasm for life. So I think attitude is just very, very important.
Yeah, that's I completely agree with you. Now, to go into a little bit further depth, what are the main characteristics of this attitude that forms the foundation of everything else? Like you mentioned, you need to be enthusiastic and other things. So, what are some of the other things that you think that are important?
Okay, so enthusiasm in sales to me is really your own enthusiasm for your business and for life and being there. It's kind of funny, but the way that I teach selling is being too enthusiastic with the customer as a salesperson is sometimes not the way to go. And there's certain cultures that don't respond to that at all. So you really have to moderate your enthusiasm. An overly enthusiastic salesperson is not really what I'm talking about necessarily with the client interaction, but I think you've got to wake up in the morning, ready to face the day, have a game plan, do your to-do list at night before you leave, and focus on two major things that I talk about all the time. One is your goals, and goals in psychology is really a personal positive future projection. Like what you see improving for yourself financially, physically, economically, paying down your debt, whatever it is, your relationships, your children, your health. So goal setting to me, which I write down and review every single day for about 5 minutes every morning, really gets your eyes focused on where you need to go. But goal setting without gratitude is very imbalanced. And gratitude is personal, positive, past reflections. So I think when you're reflecting on your day and on your past in a positive way, trying to find things that you're happy about and grateful for, even tough life lessons that made you better, at the same time, then you move on into projecting out into your day and your week and your month, how you want to live and how you want your life to go. It is really the furthest thing on the spectrum that you could be from being depressed. And it really allows you to stay in your lane and be on point every day. And in a way, much further than most people ever even consider, that sort of just, let life happen. They let the day happen. They watch the news or, always expose themselves to negativity. It really is a way to brainwash yourself for success day in and day out. So to me, goals and gratitude are the two fundamental pillars that anybody should probably, set their life on.
That's great. Now, all these things, they are amazing, and I agree with you, incorporating these into your life. But it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of sort of self-introspection to figure out what is it that you're missing and to be able to walk down this path. So what was that trigger when you were 25 that triggered it? Like, can you share it with us?
Yeah. The quick story. I mean, I always did lots of jobs. I was self-employed in my own landscaping business. I worked in corporate life. I did a lot of things professionally and part-time jobs and all that up until that point. So that was going fine. I was an athlete, always playing sports. That kind of thing was fine. My personal life, I really disconnected from my family for almost 10 years. Right after I got married, my wife got cancer, or actually just before we got married, she got cancer. We're still continuing on with that. My best friend died from a brain aneurysm. My business partner in my landscape business died from lung cancer. I had something else happen in the family I would never even say in public. And I just had, I had all the emotional and psychological legs kicked out from underneath me. And for me, it wasn't that I was looking to become better. I was trying to get myself out of a problem. So I hit what's called the pain threshold. Like I just couldn't take it anymore. And people eventually, when they make changes, normally that happens. So the pain threshold for some people with weight is they just don't want to buy that next size up in the pants. They just don't want to put the belt loop out one more hole. Somebody has a problem, really severe problems paying off their credit card or their mortgage. Somebody loses a relationship. So it's pretty common that people don't really look at this till they have to. So I really felt like this was not going where I wanted to go. I hit that wall. And for me, I turned luckily towards psychology. I turned towards personal development. I didn't turn towards drugs. I didn't turn towards, stupid friends or drinking. I went in another direction. Some people do other things. They find God. They find a religion or something that works. But there's going to be something at some point in your life that's going to really kick that off for most people. It's not just a hobby. It's not, I think I should get better at this. When it's severe change, it's because you really realize you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, and luckily, some people like yourself, you find the right path and you grow. But in most cases, people gravitate towards the things that you just mentioned: drugs, alcohol, depression, those type of things.
Yeah.
So, can you suggest, like, if somebody at that juncture, who's realizing they need to make massive change in their lives, what are the strategies they can adopt not to go down the wrong path and sort of adopt the right path, that whatever that could be for them?
Okay. This topic's not new. I mean, I did another podcast a few days ago. We got into this even more deeply. I'm a big fan of history, and I love psychology and old psychology. Ancient Sumeria, in India, the Chinese, Confucius, the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks. You go to any culture you want, they had philosophers. What philosophers were that time's psychologists. They were really the self-help industry in a way, and it's been around for thousands of years. So I think self-awareness and self-analysis is key. And if I've got about a minute, I want to run through something really quickly. I call it the box. So when people talk about thinking outside the box, or you're stuck in a box, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I've got other videos you can find on LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff, and on YouTube on this, but I'm going to do it pretty quickly. So here's what I would suggest people analyze. If you do a little box on a piece of paper, inside that box is Duane. It's you, it's everybody watching. And we are really defined by our habits, the habits we don't really think about, and what we value. And when you change your habits and your values, you instantly have a shift. You'll have a change of perspective, sometimes a change of behaviors. Our box is really four pieces. What keeps us stuck is our peer group, people we hang around with, associate with since the time we were born, people we follow on social media, and people that we aspire to be like. The information we put in front of ourselves, the meaning that we attach to certain experiences in our life, that's going to make a big difference, and our imagination. And our imagination is, again, back to the goals and the gratitudes. So this is really what kind of defines a lot of our thought processes, and our habits and values are what we're doing every day, what we're focusing on. And why we don't leave that box, there's a few primary reasons, basically three of them. It's fear, it's belief, and it's ego. If you're not lazy and habitual, you can change that. It's going to be fear, beliefs, and ego. That's going to keep you stuck. So what I did years ago is I went through some courses that discuss these things. I actually created that visual box for myself because I'm a visual, kind of mapped that out. That's kind of a Marinoism. That's my thing. And I put this in front of me, and I still teach it. I still look at it. And right now, I'm trying to grow my business in a different direction. I'm struggling with it a little bit because it's totally new to me, but I'm going to get through it. And I'm looking at this as, okay, where am I stuck right now? Because there's always that next level. There's always that next level. When you've had it and you want to retire, that's your next level. And to do that well and healthfully and happily, you're going to get stuck in something else again. So these are really the fundamental things. Over 25 years of studying and being certified in lots of stuff in psychology, dozens of workshops, reading every book you can imagine, following everybody on YouTube, it does distill down to those elements. And that's really my short or long answer on where I think everybody needs to start analyzing those pieces.
That's an excellent answer for sure. All right, so you brought up a number of key points. One thing I want to touch upon are beliefs. So because I think our beliefs are sort of they're in many cases they're not our beliefs. They are sort of conditioning that we pick up as we go through life, and they're pretty hard to change in some cases, especially if you're not self-aware, if you don't realize what are your core beliefs. People start wars based on a belief, or they do really good stuff or really bad stuff just based on a belief. So what do you think is the importance of beliefs in our lives, and how can you change them if you pick up negative beliefs?
And you nailed it. We pick up our beliefs from our environment. Like, we really do. Whatever you're exposing yourself to. Every religion that I'm aware of, every major religion, if you analyze it psychologically, they're either trying to move towards something better or move away from something negative. They're all doing that. We could list them, and some do both, but most of them are one or the other, moving towards something positive or away from something negative. So first off, you have to believe that you can move away from negative things in your life and that you can move towards something else that's positive. Then as far as establishing belief systems around yourself or your business or your health, really with beliefs, it's so true. It doesn't matter if it's right or it's wrong, if it's good or it's bad, and if it's true or if it's false. What matters is if it's empowering you and other people. So if you've got a belief system that's a disempowering belief system for you or somebody else, you better look at it. I don't care where you got it from. As Tony Robbins says, maybe it's a BS belief, like a bullshit belief, but you need to look at it if it's not empowering you or somebody else. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world and in media and social media, which are extremely disempowering beliefs about people around us, about race, about culture. I mean, I could just go on and all this stuff about where our future's going. If it's a disempowering belief, I unplug right away. I won't even look at
it. Yeah. And one thing I also read about you, you call yourself a work in progress. So can you explain that to us?
I always go first. So I'm always my first guinea pig. It's really how I started. I don't teach anything I've not done or can't do. So the work in progress is my life develops, as the business that I cater to, which is primarily automotive actually, that's changing all the time. That's a work in progress. So I can't stay stuck in a certain mindset because I'm going to fall behind in my consulting training business. I'm not going to be effective in my own life. So that's one part of the professional side. On the personal side, I have aspirations and goals, a lot of which aren't financial. It's not all about money, but I've got a certain way that I'm trying to live and ways that I'd like to live in the next 5, 10, 20 years of my life. And it's not what I'm doing right now. So that's my work in progress. It's just constantly an ever-changing landscape, and it's always moving around. I'm not really one to kind of get stuck in a certain way and be stagnant for a long time. I'm always working on something a little bit.
Awesome. That's great. At least, you have the clarity on where you want to be. So how important is that? Like, to set your goals and be very clear on what do you want to do?
At the end of the day, people will buy a new car because the car is going to give them a feeling, or they think it's going to give them a feeling. And people will want to make more money really because the feeling they think they're going to get from that money. So the first thing that I do is when I set a goal or I assess something, I look at my gratitudes and I say, okay, great. Is this going to compromise any of the gratitudes? So I have to make an evaluation or change here on what I'm going to do so I don't really give up something that's already going well. And then I kind of pan out a little bit. And I say, if this happens, is this going to give me the feeling that I want? Not just the result of the feeling. And if the results of the feeling don't line up, I shift my goal. And then I shift my goal until I kind of go, okay, you know what? For now, that's a good direction. And sometimes the goal is higher and sometimes the goal is lower. But results always are the attempt for somebody to obtain a certain feeling. It's always for an emotional change or a state change. So I try to line that up pretty tightly before I make any moves. And sometimes, quite honestly, it means I'm a little bit slow moving in on something. Like, I sometimes frustrate people that work for me or with me because I don't necessarily jump right on things and act on them. It's because I'm assessing if this is the right plan for me and my business. I'm not one to just dive in and see how it's going to go. I do try to make sure there's alignment there for me and my business and the people that are around me.
I see. And you also talk about using fear to come out on the top in business and life. First of all, I want to make sure that is accurate and I'm not putting words in your mouth.
It's very accurate. People talk about fear being a bad thing. I've never seen fear as being a bad thing. Fear is actually a great thing if you focus it properly. Like, if you're not afraid about getting hit, afraid of getting hit by a car in a busy street, that's a problem. If you're not afraid of going broke, that could be a problem. If you're not afraid of doing hard drugs, that could be a problem. So fear is there as a tool to keep you away from certain things. But what I'm very clear about life and in business is, the fear of rejection is instantly turned around for me like this. Don't have a fear of rejection or fear of something like that. Have a fear of not hitting your goal, of not retiring when you want, of not being number one, of not being able to keep this job. So sometimes you have to take the fear that, again, is not empowering, with the fear of rejection, and blow past it with a bigger fear by saying, okay, but if I don't do this, I'm not going to get that big target. So, okay, I'm going past this mini fear that really is never going to harm me. Because a lot of times we get confused in our fears. We get really minor fears that are insignificant, stopping us from attaining goals that really we should be afraid of not obtaining because it could cost us big time. So again, it's more of an alignment thing or changing the hierarchy of fear, if that makes any sense. And I have a huge fear when I go to the front of a room, or not a huge fear. That's the wrong way to put it. I used to have a huge fear. Now it's just I'm trying to be sure it's not the case of me maybe looking incompetent, not being valuable to my clients, not having the answers, and maybe not having the right thing for me to do in that situation. And that fear has always made me over-prepared for situations. When I walk in, I do okay because I don't want to look the fool. I don't want to lose these clients that are in front of me. So fear to me, it's not a bad thing at all. It's not bad at all.
Cool. And then, we talk about fear, like generally we talk about the future, what is going to happen. We are uncertain and we don't like that uncertainty. But what about, being a devil's advocate? What about people who are already in a situation of hardship? Like, it takes a lot of courage to sort of pick yourself up and get moving in the right direction. So how do you have any strategies on how you muster up that courage and sort of pick yourself up and start to move forward in the right direction?
Yeah, a couple of things I think of all the time, and actually one of them came up today. And thought process I had in something I was doing. I really have a belief system that if somebody else can do it, you can do it too.
Mm.
Something there that all of us can be good at. I don't know what it is for everybody, but something can be. Everybody is gifted with something they could be good at. So if somebody else can do it, you can do it too. So I always lead with that. I really do believe that. And then when it comes to being stuck, and I've been there in terms of negative situation you're trying to get out of, you really have to be, as they say, sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like you have to just get fed up with where you're at to want to get yourself out of it to get the next level, and then the whole process of learning and finding mentors or whatever you want to call that, studying things that kicks in. But you have to start with that foundation that you can get out of it.
Cool. And now let's talk about your expertise, which is selling. So can you share with us what is your selling process? How do you conduct it and how do you improve it?
Yeah, I've got a very, very simple selling process actually, and it can get very deep and technical when I get into clients that want that. But the basics of it, number one, is attitude. You've got to be going to work in a good mood, whatever that means. Could be listening to humor, listening to nothing, whatever your routine is. You need a routine in the morning for 5 minutes or whatever to get yourself in a good state. So I'm big time about priming in the morning or priming on the way to work so you show up in a good state and grateful to have a job. Then I like all of my salespeople to study body language. Body language is fundamental. Also studying how people text and email and on the phone and being able to mirror people, that is key. And it's also cultural. So we are a very diverse society. You have to understand the body language of different cultures and how to project yourself properly. In terms of a sales process, there's only 3 universal steps that every salesperson that sells anything to anybody, pretty much, if a commission sales, have got to master. One is LG, which is lead generation. However you're going to do it, there's a million ways we can talk about it. Lead generation, you know what? You're going to have to get good at that. The second one is demonstrating your product. In the car business, it's driving a car, test drives. In real estate, it's showing properties. You've got to demonstrate your product somehow. Online, face-to-face, physical tour. And the third one is proposals. You got to show numbers. You have to give quotes. Now, generally speaking, it goes in that order. You lead generate, then you have product presentations, then you're giving quotes. It doesn't have to. But those 3 things are fundamental steps in sales. And there's a lot of stuff that builds up into those steps. And then, Peter's often goes into the next one for sure. But LG, TDMP is what I call it. LG, TDMP is where all the money is in every sales profession out there with a great attitude and being able to, connect with people and read people. That's the 5 absolute fundamentals, because people, they do ultimately buy from people they like and respect. And all of those 5 things go into that if you're going to be a professional salesperson.
That's great. And you brought up lead gen, and I also read one of your quotes which says 10 contacts a day keeps bankruptcy away. So I guess these are 2 related.
Very much. And I just picked the number 10. It could be 5 for some people. Other people, it's 50. But the reality is touches, reaching out. It could be social media posts, could be text, could be phone calls, could be door-to-door, mailers. I don't know what it is. But as a simple number, 10 a day, 7 days a week, is 3,650 people or 3,650 businesses a year you're talking to. That's a lot of businesses. So if you can just manage those 10 a day, every day, don't go to bed until you somehow reach out or touch 10. That's a significant number of people after a year. After 10 years, it's 37,000 people or something in businesses. So I think, again, I really believe in not setting goals, but setting up systems, because systems turn into habits and habits get done.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm regimented about that number, 10 or 15 people a day.
That's great. And now you talked about your sales process, which made total sense. What about the sales system? Like, from what I've heard, great salespeople, they have great systems so that they can keep track of all the follow-ups, all the calls they need to make, even though they may not be like, the greatest at their selling skill, but since they have the great systems, it makes them excel. So what do you think about that?
If you've heard of a term called CRM,
Yeah.
so CRM, obviously there's Salesforce, all kinds of CRMs now. So I give you a little bit of just going back in history. In 1995, there was basically 2 CRMs you could buy that were on the shelf in Staples or something, and it was Maximizer and it was Act. And there was really nothing else out there, and they were not web-based, they were PC-based. And in my niche, which is the car business, automotive, and that's a billion, multi-trillion dollar business. All the money and technology you could imagine at the dealership level, manufacturer level. There was no CRM. There was no CRM in real estate. It was just that generic kind of stuff. So I developed CRM for car dealers, and I had the first CRM in place 5 years before anybody else even thought about it. So we had it in about 400 or 500 dealerships all over North America, and it was a customer relationship management software called RELMark, relationship marketing software. And that type of stuff is fantastic to organize yourself, keep deep details, do reminders, now branch out contacts into social media, texting, mail, whatever. It's really, really powerful stuff. But on top of the cyberspace, I talk about you also have to have 3 tools in real space. And between the cyberspace CRM, whatever you're using, and these 3 tools in real space that I'm going to talk about right now for 2 seconds, you're going to be ultra organized. The first one is this: a paper planner and a paper to-do list. This has been studied. Top income earners in all professions, the vast majority of them still use as a primary planner or paper planner. And they still do a to-do list at night before they go home. So they sleep at night, they know what they got to do in the morning, and they're organized that way. So I'm a huge believer in a daily, weekly, or monthly paper planner because it's tactile, it's in your hand, you can take it with you, and it should always be open on your desk. In the other room over there, in my home in London, I've got another place in Toronto, I could actually walk you over. My paper planner is sitting there wide open because I was working there this morning, and my to-do list is right beside it. And then for all salespeople that are out there, on top of that, develop what I call the 5-folder lead management system in paper. So every time you're done with a lead, not an inquiry, but a lead, and I don't care if it's online, email, internet, texting, face-to-face, on the phone, it doesn't matter. Develop some kind of a piece of paper. On that piece of paper, you always write your notes in the same spot. So the kind of product they're after, their wants and needs, their name, their number, whatever else. So when you go to that piece of paper in 5 years, you know where to find the information, and you're emotionally connected to the story on that piece of paper with that client because you wrote it in your handwriting. This connection doesn't happen on a computer. That memory space is not there in a computer. That sheet of paper, when you're done with the client, is going to go into one of 5 folders. You decide, Mr. or Mrs. Salesperson. Are they hot? Are they warm? Are they cold? Are they sold? Or are they lost? And every day you go through the cold ones and see if you can make a couple warm. You go through the warm ones, see if a couple can be made hot. You go through the hot ones, see if you can make a couple into solds. And then you go into the lost maybe once every couple of weeks and see if there's anything there that's changed in your dynamic or in the market or with that customer that maybe some of those losts could be recontacted for a referral or maybe for another product offering that you have. So electronic CRM, paper planner, paper to-do list, and the 5 folders. And my good friend that's just passed away, Joe Girard, in the Guinness Book of World Records, still holding the Guinness Book of World Record title when he passed away, showed me his organization system to sell as many cars in a year himself as most dealerships were selling in a year. And organization is absolutely going to take you to the next level because a lot of people cap out because they're running out of time, and you're running out of time because you're not organized.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Yeah, that was eye-opening for sure. And this concept of 5 folders, yeah, that's a very novel idea. Makes total sense. Now, next one I want to talk about is body language. So I also believe body language is so true, and you brought up multiple cultures, and it's kind of interesting how some cultures, they have a different way of conveying the same emotion, and it means totally different. It could be also offensive in a different culture. So tell us about how important this concept of body language, reading body language, and sort of conveying your own temperament through your body language is.
Yeah. Well, we're from 2 different countries, right? I was born actually in Canada. Where were you born?
India.
India. Okay. And I spent a lot of time in Toronto. I go to Vancouver very often, where you are. And those are very, very multicultural cities.
Yeah.
So as a salesperson selling to other people, you have to understand this. So first off, I would suggest in general terms, people start to read about a brain science called NLP. So neuro-linguistic programming is the foundational map for all the body language training that's going on any place right now. So you can find this online. It's a very, very powerful mind science in a lot of ways. This would be a great place to start. And I've been certified in a bunch of different ways. And then the other part of it is, if you just go to, Indigo or Chapters or Barnes and Noble, or you go on Amazon and you type in cultural selling, there's like cultural selling for dummies. There's a lot of books that have been written on it that are, I find it fascinating, and I find it very respectful to understand somebody's culture. Yeah. And predominant languages or cultures that you're dealing with, whoever's watching this, I think also you have to learn how to use Google Translate and learn how to say yes and no and please and thank you and hello and goodbye in the cultures of your dominant situation or demographics for the clients. Like if I send that to you in your native tongue, I'm not Indian, I don't speak Indian, but you would be really, really impressed that I cared enough to learn it and to try. And that would create a rapport and a bond with me and you.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's again a very key novel lesson. Thank you for sharing that. And now let's talk about some mistakes. Along the way in your entrepreneurial journey, did you make any mistakes? And if so, what were the lessons you learned from them?
Yeah, I made a few mistakes. I made a pretty big mistake last year. I brought some people into my company I thought I could trust. I found that I couldn't. I thought they had certain competencies. They didn't do anything they said they would do. I was really hoping for things. I think they read my hope and kind of hung their hats on it. And really nice people. So if they happen to watch this, I'm not at all disliking them. I'm not negative towards them. But what they said they were going to do, none of it transpired. And a lot of time and a lot of money went down the toilet because of it. And I really probably didn't just, I don't want to say I didn't do due diligence, but I didn't really look at it as it was happening. It was a lot of hope. So what happens sometimes, because I set some very serious goals 2 or 3 years ago, I really was looking to make those couple of goals happen, and I didn't think about the plan enough. And something came along, a few people came along that I thought could do it, and I just jumped right in. And I was a little bit too. I just got into really. I didn't do what I talked about earlier about evaluating things properly and the results and how it feel. I didn't do that, and that was a major cost for me, time and money wise. You know what? But you learn. That was recently probably my biggest mistake I've made, in the last 15 years, I would say, is what it's turned out to be.
Yeah, people are so important, and that's why they say, human capital is the most important capital for anyone. But, going through that experience, once again, did you have any sort of intuition that this may not be the right thing to do, or it was a total surprise to you?
No, that's the other thing. I talk a lot about people, you think with your head, your heart, and your gut. My heart said, I'm not sure. Sorry, my heart said, I'm not sure. My head said, go do it because of my goal. My gut, all the way from the very beginning, said this isn't going to work. I don't feel it. I should have listened to my gut. And sometimes you need to separate those and go with the one that's the strongest. So my brain was kind of like, yeah, I think this could work. My heart was, but my gut was like red lights. No, don't do it. All the way through, don't do it. And I really should have listened to that because it was a very strong sense that I had. And I did not listen to that intuition. So, sometimes you don't want to listen to it. You're hoping you're wrong. Right?
Good. All right. Well, that's great. And now one of the final questions, the theme of our podcast is bootstrapping. So did you bootstrap your businesses, or how did that happen? Did you get investment from external parties?
Yeah, so the concept of bootstrapping a business, I first came across that through Brian Tracy. And he talks about that exactly. If you're starting a business, it needs to be bootstrapped. And if you can't bootstrap it, maybe it's not a good business. Now, depending on the type of business you're getting into, there's certain investments and things, you're going to need some leverage. You're going to need something going in. You may not have the money. But I did bootstrap, and I still bootstrap everything. And I still believe, for the most part, that if it's going to start turning, it's going to start turning quickly, or it's not a good business. And if you leverage yourself too much to start something and find out it's not a good business, you've lost that income, you've lost that time, and now you have debt on top of it, and you're in the hole even further. So, yeah, I started from absolutely bootstrap myself on any company or business that I started. I did it from scratch and built it up from there, 100%.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all your knowledge and wisdom. Now, before I let you go, can you tell us how people can reach out to you?
Yes, for sure. So here's one of my books, Unstoppable Selling. There we go. I have 3 books on Amazon. So go on Amazon. I've got the blue book, Unstoppable Selling, the red book, Unstoppable Attitude, and the green book, Unstoppable Money. So those books are available publicly on Amazon. My website is www.duanemarino, Duane Marino, which is DuaneMarino.com. LinkedIn, we're getting a lot more focused on different aspects of social media. Go on LinkedIn. I've got one profile on LinkedIn there. Instagram, my professional Instagram is Duane_Marino. And if you're in sales, go on Facebook and go to groups and type in Unstoppable Selling Mastermind. That's a group for salespeople. Love to see you there. And if you want to give me a good Google review after this podcast, that'd be great. Or an endorsement, a recommendation on LinkedIn, that'd be fantastic. But that's I'm an easy guy to find online. Or just Google my name. The first 8 pages you can put in my name are all me. You can see lots of stuff that I've done.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you once again for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
And that's all for now. Until next time. Now, if you're an entrepreneur or a career professional, then I invite you to join our growing community. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. As a welcome bonus, you will get the Startup Founders Technology Accelerator video series and Mastering Your Inner Game video series absolutely free. This series of short videos address some core issues which are instrumental in helping you move forward in your business or career. The videos are yours to view and share for free. No obligations or strings attached, except for one. You have to take action and implement it. So join us today. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. If you want more engaging videos and insightful interviews with industry's thought leaders, then check out the other videos we have picked for you. The link is right there. And if you want to be notified about our new content, please do consider subscribing to our channel.